Okay, guys, now we're online, and now with Jim McCarthy, and we want to tell you actually this story because Jim, he's Yahoo employee number 258. But before we jump into the story about Yahoo and Yahoo Employee, the amazing company, I think you guys will be interested in how it was to work for this amazing company that I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, it was acquired by Verizon. So, but before we start, I want to give a word to Jim. So he will introduce himself and he will tell what he's doing, and then we'll talk about Yahoo.
Sounds great. Thank you, Marina. So my name is Jim McCarthy. I live in San Francisco. I've worked in Silicon Valley for about 20 years. And what I do today is leadership consulting, where I teach companies how to build happy, high-performance teams, how to hire great people, how to set them up for success, how to be first-time manager. And then in addition, I do individual coaching. But then I do motivational speaking on happiness, where I teach companies how to lead high-performance teams, how to help people reduce their stress, how to focus on goals, how to keep your team motivated. And so my workshops range from inspirational to operational. Now, I'm very, very fortunate because one of the most amazing experiences I've had in my career was at Yahoo. I graduated from Stanford Business School in 1996. I went to the San Jose Mercury News to do marketing in the fall of 1996. And I wanted to do internet stuff, and they said, no, Jim, we'll have you do marketing instead. And so I left after 10 months because I thought the internet was really taking off. It was really going to be cool. Yahoo was already a public company. And so I left the San Jose Mercury News after 10 months because I was working on, I saw that classifieds was going to be very powerful on the internet. And I realized that on the internet, classifieds could be better, faster, and cheaper. So if you wanted to sell a car or you were looking to buy a car, it was way better on the internet than what you could ever do in a newspaper. If you're looking for a job, if you're looking to buy a house, sell a house, online personals were also becoming very interesting at that time also. So I went to Yahoo in July 1997 as employee 258. The company was already public, right? The company was started in 1994 by Dave Filo and Jerry Yang, who were two electrical engineering students at Stanford. And part of what I love about Dave and Jerry and sort of the history of Yahoo was they didn't wake up one morning and say, oh, we're going to start this huge global media empire. They were a couple of guys who were getting their PhDs in electrical engineering at Stanford, but the internet was starting to really take off, and they had trouble finding the websites that they wanted to use. And so they created sort of a hierarchy or a tree, and they said, okay, here's a new website, and it's related to sports, or it's related to business, or it's related to travel or to finance. And they started creating these categories. And it became wildly popular at Stanford on campus, and of course, because the World Wide Web is global, they started getting all sorts of traffic, and they realized, wow, maybe we have a business here. We don't know how we're going to make money from this, but we have a lot of traffic. And as long as there's a lot of traffic, we'll probably figure out eventually some way to start making money from it. And so the company grew. They went public with, I think, about 50 employees in 1996, right as I was graduating from business school. And I remember talking to a friend of mine who I wanted to do a project at Yahoo during business school for one of my classes. And a classmate of mine said, no, I already did a project last summer. I don't want to do another project for them. And unfortunately, that would have been a great opportunity to go to Yahoo because I would have gone there before they went public. Instead, I went to the Mercury News and wanted to do internet stuff. They didn't give it to me, so I went to Yahoo and started there in July of 1997. And there's already 258 other people in the 257 other people when I started. But it was just an amazing place to be. And I think today, in 2016, it's really easy to lose sight of, people don't respect Yahoo, they think the company's not cool anymore, and I agree with that. But back in 1997, 98, 99, 2000, it really was the coolest company in the world to be at. And I'm very fortunate and very grateful to have been there. And in a blog post that I wrote about, which I published on my website, I wrote about, the blog post I think is called the hippie values that made Yahoo the world's greatest company, the world's coolest company.
Why hippie?
Yeah, so hippie can mean a lot of different things, okay, and probably different things in different countries. But for me, what hippie means is that you have a free spirit, that you are not part of the establishment, that you are challenging the status quo, that you're doing things differently, that you're doing things innovatively, you're doing things for fun, for pleasure, because it's just enjoyable to do. You think for yourself, you're independent, and you don't fit into a little simple category of what's expected of you. For me, that's hippie.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to have long hair, it doesn't mean you have to have beads, it doesn't mean you have to wear sandals, although all those things are just fine for hippies. But and of course, where I live right here in San Francisco is really like a mile from Haight-Ashbury, which is really the ground center of the hippie movement that really started in for the whole world here in San Francisco in the 60s. But that tradition has carried on in California and especially in the Bay Area. And even as the internet started taking off, there is this sort of spirit of rebellion in Northern California, the spirit of being very progressive, liberal, free thinking, even in contrast not only for the US, but even within the US itself. So the US, I think, is very much more that way than Europe, and I lived in Europe for 6 years, in Austria, Germany, Spain, and the UK. So I know a little bit about contrasting the two cultures, and especially in California versus in the East Coast of the U.S. California is much more about free spirit and innovation. East Coast is much more, where did you go to school? What family are you from? Does your family have a lot of money? In California, it's very much not about that. And Yahoo really was the embodiment of that in the early days, especially. So Dave Filo, I'm told, grew up on a commune in Louisiana. He was one of the co-founders of Yahoo. And then Jerry Yang, who was born in Taiwan, in Taipei, came to San Jose, California with his family when he was 10 years old, and they both met at Stanford. And what they did is when they started Yahoo, they were doing it because it was fun, they were doing it because it was enjoyable, and it became very popular. Then they started this company, but the spirit of what they brought about it had implications on a couple of different things. And I remember talking to a colleague of mine who, his name was John Place. John was the first legal counsel at Yahoo, so the first lawyer at Yahoo for the whole company. And I remember talking to him and drinking a beer in a mug probably like this. This says Oktoberfest. This is from 2009, but I had an Oktoberfest mug from 1997. I don't think I have it anymore. But I was drinking beers with John Place, and he said, you know, Dave and Jerry, the founders of this company, they're really a couple of hippies. And they may not realize it, they might even deny it, but the cores, the values that they have, the way they think, their approach towards life and about business is very anti-establishment, very counterculture, and very much in this hippie tradition. So what he meant by that was a couple of things. So first of all, from a product standpoint, they always focused on creating a great product so you had a great user experience. And they would try to make the website as efficient as possible so you could get as much information as you could, as quickly as you could go, and then you could be done. And so the pages were designed in a very simple, clean fashion, not a lot of extra stuff, and people really liked that, and so we had users who kept coming back. And you compare that today, where you're just bombarded with advertisements all the time, and when that happens, you have a really bad experience. Now, part of it was that a lot of people didn't have broadband back in those days, and so it was really important for the pages to be very simple and very clean. And this was actually this was sort of my notebook that I carried around with me in the early days of Yahoo, and you'll see that I actually have a printout of the page. This is from January 19th, 1998, and this was the homepage of Yahoo. And here it says, looking for a job, home, date, and these are all going to different areas of Yahoo Classifieds. The team I was on, we were all working on that together. But you see how simple this was. Now, there was a search box there, which is very important, because eventually Google was able to really hurt Yahoo by dominating in search. But at this time, this was working really well for Yahoo. And so what they did is they tried to create a great user experience for the people who came to Yahoo. They weren't trying to squeeze as much profit as they possibly could out of the website. In addition, I think what they did was that the approach was very much in terms of like the company was very egalitarian. And by egalitarian, I mean very respectful of other people, and that can mean a couple of things. So, for example, also part of the hippie spirit is that Dave Philo, who was the co-founder, he would always wear jeans and a T-shirt at work. Often he was barefoot in the office. If you went into his cube, it was just stacked up high with all different sorts of pictures and all sorts of paperwork. And he drove an old car parked in the parking lot. He didn't have a reserved parking space. And this was just all part of the culture. He kept a sleeping bag underneath his cubicle from the old days of when he was literally working around the clock. And he would, work, sleep, work, sleep, work, sleep. That was all he did as they were building the company. And this became part of the Yahoo culture. Jerry Yang also kept a sleeping bag in his cube as sort of a reminder of the old days. And what's fun is that I have some of this old stuff here. There was always like a holiday gift every year for the Yahoo employees. In 1999, this was something called Yahoopoly, which was fun, and I got a signature from Dave Philo here. It says, "Jim, happy holidays, 99, Dave Philo." This is fun. And then in 2000, they gave every employee a purple sleeping bag because purple is the corporate colors there. This, I think it says Yahoo. Yes, it does. It says Yahoo here. And Philo was also going around handing these out to employees, which was just a nice touch that a co-founder of the company would go from person to person giving them this holiday gift. And I made sure to get Philo's autograph again. So it says, "To Jim, happy holidays, for 2000. So these were all, and this is a really good sleeping bag too. I've used it many times. So that was part of the culture. And the message that Philo was giving to everybody was, work very hard, but stay down to earth, stay simple, not too flashy, not too extravagant, which I think honestly is very different from a lot of the entrepreneurs today, where if you're in San Francisco and Silicon Valley, you see people, whether they have a lot of money or they don't, they really try to show it off like they're big, fancy, and successful. And that is not the hippie way of doing things, whereas Dave Philo very much had that sort of approach, and that really carried through to the culture of Yahoo. So, for example, in 1998, 99, 2000, a lot of people wanted to work for the company because the company was being very successful, and it was in the headlines all the time for creating all these .com millionaires. And we would interview people, and we'd realize that if someone wanted to work for Yahoo just because they wanted to make a lot of money, we said, no way. You needed to really care about the internet. And what that meant was that Yahoo was looking for people who just had this like crazy passion for the internet and what it could do and how it could touch people's lives in a positive way. There is also just a lot of really so I've told a little bit about Dave Philo. I've also haven't mentioned much about Jerry Yang, but Jerry's a great guy. Obviously a very, very smart guy. Both Philo and Jerry are very smart. Philo's much quieter, and Jerry's much more the outgoing, sort of the salesperson, the pitch man for the company. And but for Jerry, he really cared about being very accessible to people. So I remember this one time I was in the bathroom, going to the bathroom, standing next to the urinal at Yahoo, and I felt this big pat on my shoulder. And I'm like, who was touching me in the restroom here? And I looked over, and it was Jerry Yang next to me with his hand on my shoulder like this, with just a big smile. I said, "Hey Jim, how's it going?" I said, "Hey Jerry, I'm fine. How are you?" And it seemed so strange at the time, but Jerry really was sincerely, truly trying to be very kind to people, very open to people, very approachable. And everybody just loved Jerry, because even to this day, because he's just a really fine person. He's done a lot of philanthropy. He's given a lot to different causes, and people just love being part of his organization. Now, also part of what made Yahoo special was the people. So there's like this hippie element. There's kind of like this this really sort of fun, funky part of the company. So there's these people called surfers, and they're the people who did the different categorizations of the websites. Ultimately, that didn't scale very well, but at least for a while, that was how the whole categorization was done. And there's one guy named Andy Gems who's from Virginia, and he kept a pet tarantula spider in his cubicle. And he said he didn't even really like tarantulas very much, but somehow he was on some talk show and they had a leftover tarantula there, so he took it home, or he was afraid they were going to kill it. And the fact that Yahoo allowed a person to keep a tarantula in their cube was pretty amazing. There's also, I remember there's a couple of surfers, and their whole job was just to categorize porn sites. So obviously there's always been a lot of porn on the web, and this one woman, she told me, it's like, oh, I just created a new category for the latex fetish. She was quite proud of that. So it was funny because her background was in law. I think she was in law school before she started at Yahoo. So Yahoo is attracting all sorts of people who are smart, who love the web, but who are also just really fun and innovative. And I think that when people said that they loved Yahoo, and we would meet people all the time, like I traveled around the world rolling out Yahoo products, and I would like have a sticker like "Do you Yahoo?" This says "Do you Yahoo?" This is from the U.S. Yahoo Autos, "Do you Yahoo?" And I remember going through airports in Korea, in Japan, in 1999, and people would point to our luggage and say, "Oh, Yahoo! We love Yahoo!" And that was so cool, because I think what it meant was, first of all, that Yahoo kind of tapped into this global culture of what has kind of become the techies. And what was amazing was that going to Yahoo offices, I went with my boss, Tony Surtees, who's from Australia, and when we were rolling out Yahoo auctions around the world in 1999 to beat eBay to market in a lot of different international markets, we went to London, Paris, Munich, then we flew all the way over to Tokyo, Seoul in Korea, then Singapore, and then Hong Kong. And wherever we went, the Yahoo people in every office seemed to be very similar. They love the internet. They were passionate about what we're doing. They were working very hard. They felt like they could really make a difference in people's lives. And there's sort of like this great mission that people were on. And that was, and part of what was cool about that is Yahoo made us really rethink about what you could do with a company, what you could do with technology, what you could do with the internet, and really what you could do with your career. And now I think we take that for granted. But back in 1997, 98, 99, it really was a completely new era of opportunity for having an impact on the world in a way which was kind of unimaginable before the web, really. So that was very cool. And so when people said, I love Yahoo, what they're saying is they love the internet. And when people said, I love the internet, what they really meant was they're saying, I love information, I love open information, I love the opportunity of a new innovative industry, I love freedom to try different things, and I love opportunity that Yahoo can create. So these are all amazing parts of being at Yahoo, and things changed a lot over time. I could spend a lot of time talking about that, many hours. But in those days in 1997, it was absolutely phenomenal to be there. And what I say is, you might have heard of the saying, do what you love and the money will follow. And I don't, sort of that makes sense, sort of it doesn't. But definitely for Jerry Yang and Dave Filo and a lot of the people at Yahoo in the early days, they absolutely were doing what they really loved, and the money absolutely did follow. And I consider myself very lucky that I, at least once in my life, was able to work at a company leading the industry in a really revolutionary industry, working with great people, making a lot of money, and just having a ton of fun. And to have experienced that even once in my life was just incredible. So I'm very grateful for what Yahoo did and the impact it's had on the world.
That's great, Jim. Thank you so much for the insight I think a lot of people will be interested to listen to from the previous employee of Yahoo, right? And do you have any opinion on this deal?
Do I have any opinion on the Yahoo Verizon deal? Not really. I mean, you know, Yahoo's been in a long, slow decline for a long, long time. And part of that is how Google was able to really hurt Yahoo dramatically. Part of that was how Facebook has been able to hurt Yahoo dramatically. And then how mobile has been able to completely redefine how people access information and use it and interact with other people. So I'm glad that Yahoo is still around, but it's become very irrelevant. Most of what Yahoo used to do became very irrelevant. And part of that is Yahoo's approach was to be a portal, right? Excuse me. So for example, if I look back to what Yahoo was doing in January of 1998, there was things on, let's see, you had new, cool, today's news, more Yahoos. I don't even think Yahoo had mail at the time. You know, I thought they did. Yeah, here it is, email. But here you've got personals, chat, email. So there's some communication products. There's information products.
Can you show us?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
I guess maybe.
Sorry, Marina. So there's let's say there's classifieds. Okay. Well, just out of classifieds, we had Yahoo Personals going against Match.com. And Yahoo would have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 people working on Yahoo Personals. And Match.com would have 40 people or 100 people or 300 people working on it. So everything we did, we're going up against companies that were called the category killers, right? We're going against people who would try to be much better in communication, people much better in online personals, people much better on selling cars or selling houses or news or sports. And Yahoo still did very good in some of those categories. But going up against people who were very, very focused on just one category was always something that was uncomfortable for Yahoo as a model. And as for things going on today, it's kind of sad to see the company become more and more irrelevant. But you know, things have changed in 20 years. I mean, dramatically. And if a company can't continue to know what it is and know what it isn't and evolve with the technology and with usage, then they're always going to be at risk of fading away.
Yeah, that's true. The time's changing, the company is appearing and then merging, dying. So anyway, thank you so much, Jim, for the fabulous insight. Again, it was Jim McCarthy. You can check his website, jimmccarthy.com. And thank you for watching.
Thank you, Marina. I really appreciate the opportunity.